welcome back. Yes, I'm starting a tad bit early. I'm just eager to get going. I thought about streaming yesterday, actually, because I I spend most of my time playing MMOs, but I wasn't gonna be able to do that yesterday because they were under maintenance. But I was like, no, let's keep to the schedule. So, we have been doing the Derek DLC from Our Life Beginnings and Always, and I wanted to keep going last week for a little longer than I did, but I would have had to replay step 3, just to make sure to include all the all the Derek stuff from step 2, which apparently there were additional things you could pick in step 2, the DLC that were already there, but I skipped doing that. But that's okay. So with step 3, Derek, you don't spend time with him you still don't spend time with him. But Baxter shows up and he remembers you and Derek. He's the kid you ran into at the soiree, so I was right about that. And as you're hanging out with Terry and Miranda, you and Co remember drawing in the cement with Derek, which happened in one of the DLC. I can't remember which one now. One of the additional Derek moments. So, I finished up all of the Step 3 DLC. So, this is probably going to be similar to before. But I felt that redoing this would be better on stream. So here we go. And then summer ended. Are you sure? Yes. Moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room, a siren call in the slowly darkening sky. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own new journey began. She'd officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person before you flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know when you'd next have the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. Of course, they're your neighbors and you've grown up together. They're basically family, and that's one of the things I love about this. I don't think I've mentioned it before, but I really love that that your moms decided to take in the single father and his son and just adopt them, basically. I think we did the tropical place last time, and of course I'm pretty sure I did the Chinese restaurant in my off-stream game, which I'm going to have to redo that one anyway because I messed up the saves. So we're going to the Chinese restaurant. It was somewhere your family had always enjoyed going ever since you and Liz were tiny. That long-standing connection made it a fitting location for a final meal out before Liz and Lee set off again. Also, the tropical restaurant was where I worked for my part-time job when I streamed this moment. When I was playing through the moments this past week, I picked a phone kiosk because the other option, so it was either you work at the tropical restaurant, the phone kiosk at the mall, or the library with Cove, and I'm pretty sure I did the library with Cove when I was doing the off-stream romance with him. So I picked the phone kiosk one. Technically, we're getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. While idly gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes. That must have been left for you by a parent earlier. You headed over to the table to flick through for anything of interest. As a child, any correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. You recognize now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more regularly of late. I know that feeling. I remember when I was little being excited when I got anything in the mail, and now most of what I get is junk mail. The joys of being an adult. There was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, a school you'd applied to. Let's roll a dice. Got a D3. Yes, I remember. I'm better about remembering my dice bag. So 1, 2, 3. What? I said D3, didn't I? A D6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3. You hesitated, worried by the possibility of bad news. You wish you could roll back the hands of time and make it say you weren't aware of this message, at least until after tonight. Yeah, when I was getting ready, I went to community college first, and when I was getting ready to transfer, I applied. I looked at 3 different schools, all Christian, because that was my life at the time. That I was kind of in that mindset. One of them, I decided outright I didn't want to go there, just because the attitude towards one of the other schools when I visited for their preview days, I guess you could call it. I forget what it's called now. It rubbed me the wrong way. Though I might have met my best friend now well, actually I don't know if I would have met him sooner. Well, I would have been able to spend more time with him. And then the other 2 I went ahead and applied, and they both accepted me. And both acceptance letters came while I was on a trip with a friend over spring break. Anyway, at least until after tonight. You didn't want bad news to spoil your evening, but you couldn't bear to have this looming over you the whole time either. There was no option but to look. Pulled apart the glued flap on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Your eyes sighted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. You'd been accepted! Could hardly believe it. Overwhelmed, dizzy with thirst and excitement, you had to repeat the outcome back to yourself, eyes locked on the message, as if afraid the words might contort into something different. Let's tell the family right away. I don't think I've done that. You tore down the stairs, your feet barely touching the ground as you leapt from one step to the next. Your arrival, which compensated for excessive speed by creating a riot of noise, caught Mom's attention. Someone's hungry. Her eyes were twinkling, amused as she let you catch your breath. So what's the rush for? I got into college! Mom whooped, holding out a hand for a high five.
You're fantastic!
Nice, Jules! The commotion had summoned the other women from various corners of the house. Liz looked up from her book, grinning as Lee hurried over. Ma swept from the side, wrapping an arm around your shoulders and squeezing you close.
Good job.
That's wonderful, sweetie. Hey, let me in on the hug. She wrapped her arms around you both without waiting for an invitation. Liz, her book neatly abandoned on the floor, tapped her hands in applause as she walked up to you. Good job, Jules. Lee didn't hide her excitement, openly jumping for joy as she treated you to thunderous applause. It's
Seriously?
amazing! You're gonna be amazing! That's nice, but you shouldn't just stand there. Yeah, there's room for everyone. Your moms opened up the hug, both keeping an arm around you as they each held out another to invite Liz and Lee in. Giggling, Lee dove into the hug. Liz rolled her eyes, but allowed herself to be beckoned into the group hug. Your mom squeezed everyone together tightly. Mom's long hair brushed against your face as she turned to check the clock.
Let's go.
We can take this party on the road. We've got to head out for dinner soon. Nodding, you were aware that your attempts to finish getting ready had been cast aside in favor of congratulating you. I have to do a couple more things first. It won't take long. You heard back upstairs, so getting ready to go out was the issue at hand. You couldn't stop your thoughts from drifting back to the future. Back to the future. I don't know if the writers intended that, but that's where my brain goes, is to the movies. Mine was buzzing over the news you'd received and everything that would soon unfurl. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice it made for a very tight fit. Your mom, sitting in the front, were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. Yep, I remember when we were little, we used to argue over who got to sit in the middle and back because I was usually the worst. But now that most of us have driver's licenses, that's not a problem. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, but with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Leah a hand as she clambered out from the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you there would be in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. Oh gosh, when it's 2 parents and 4 kids, which is the way my family was when we were little, finding a big enough table was a pain, but now it's usually just 4 of us, and it's much easier to find a table small enough. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drinks order had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, it was hardly necessary. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. Been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Mr. Holden sat beside him.
Hi!
It's great to see you. Glad you could make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am. You came to the right place then. There was some laughter, though Liz grinned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. That's like my family. There's a reason they're called dad jokes, but when you don't have a dad, what if your mom says to take the job, right? But yeah, her jokes are the kind of jokes my dad would make. Menus were soon passed around and a temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up.
Okay.
So, I've got some good news. Kyra's making a trip out here tomorrow. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this was a good time for everyone.
Very nice.
That's great! Everyone reacted positively to the news, so Ma looked wistful.
That's a
If only
shame.
we'd known. Here we are, having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs and back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up, Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll just have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now, but there will be more good news and good times on the horizon. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Right, and speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. Barry let a beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was a very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke.
Well,
It's just I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'll be pretty busy going forward. Apartments. He was moving. Cove was going to move out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible! Cove's actually going to make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder.
I'm so glad.
I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point, but thankfully I looked out and got the best boy a dad could have asked for. Dad. Right? Cove blinkered his vision with his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy.
thanks.
I was really lucky too. You're a good dad. Aw, come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. Ma leaned over and whispered in your ear, her fingertips brushing against your cheeks. Would you like to tell Cove and Mr. Holden what you told us earlier? Sure. As the spotlight thrust on Cove dimmed, you decided this was as good a time as any to make your own announcement. Can I share some news too? Of course! I got my acceptance letter today. I'll be going to college soon. Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up.
Good
Impressive. You're a good kid. The world's your oyster. Cove grinned at you from across the table.
Seriously?
That's amazing. It's incredible. You did it. Congratulations, Jules. Thanks. No, seriously, this is really, really big, and you deserve it so much. He looked around at the faces of the company here. You've been on this journey with everyone here for years, seen them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Now you were striking out on a new path. Cove was leaving his family home, Liz was heading back to college, while Lee was starting at hers. We were all heading in different directions to different destinations, some near and far, some near and some far, but we belonged to were all going your own way. I think I picked this one before, so maybe one of these. This one was right. You held your head aloft as you looked forward, literally and metaphorically. It was amazing how far you'd all come. You were sure that you would face each day that came head on, knowing that you had people who cared about you, backing you up, even if it was from a distance. You couldn't wait to see what happened next. Cole brought some attention to himself with the clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything.
Sure.
Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? You hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Cove started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to face you, but it was an awkward movement. Well, I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all this. You know, my work, moving. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. Yeah, it's exciting. Cove stopped picking at his shirt and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset about it. I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down at his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes to instead rub at his arm. Are you looking forward to it? I am. I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. So you're saying you're going to dress up as the future for Halloween? We're going to do great things. Come on, you don't need to worry. Let's go with this one. It's a little conceptual, sure, but you could probably make it work. No. What would that costume even look like? I don't know. The mood felt a little better, though it didn't last. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. He felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. It's happening, you know? What I talked about earlier this summer. The world isn't going to keep us together anymore. It'll all be up to us now. That's when he was doing all these nice things for you, like taking you to a play, or to an aquarium, and ice skating, and he did not dress well for it. But everything is still going to be okay, right? We're still going to be okay? We're not gonna get married at him. You understood his concern. It was definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you did let yourself get upset. I'll make sure we always are. You were going to keep things up. There was no way you were going to let this fall down the wayside. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I wanted to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. Oh no, I can't believe you're being forced to have hope about life. His lips twitched up at your sarcasm.
Right?
I know! How am I going to get past this? He gave a small smile and then stopped joking around. Thanks for listening to me, Jules. It helped. He felt pleased that his anxiety had eased after talking it out. Want to go back to the table? I bet everyone's wondering what we've been up to.
Yeah.
I forgot what we were doing in here. That'd probably be good. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter. Excuse me, and it showed. You seem happy. What was that? Yeah, it looked like you were having quite the conversation over there. It's neighbor stuff. Sorry. I used to be your neighbor. He waved off their questions and he didn't offer any explanations. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted it to stay between the two of you and let it drop. Things relaxed and you took a sip of your drink. We idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place. I haven't been here in a long time. I hope it's as good as I remember. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issued. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic, and Mom snorted. It was a tough crowd. Jeez, Liz. Ma giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie. Jeez. Oh, jeez Louise. Jeez. Liz put her hand over her eyes in mock offense.
Rude.
I hardly say jeez anymore. Cove smirked and turned to his sister. You leaned forward in your seat.
Huh.
Jeez. Everyone burst out laughing, besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were standing in the parking lot saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going by in a blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. As your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now, behind your eyelids, as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped into your head and you smiled softly to yourself. Okay. I think, before I snuck over to his room, and I know when I did the romance game off stream, I did. But let's skip that. It wasn't long before your eyes were growing heavy and you drifted off into a peaceful sleep. The next morning you woke slowly from a comfortable dream, finding yourself safe and warm and tucked up in bed. With a small stretch, you opened your eyes to the sun shining in through the window. After waking up a little more and getting ready, you headed downstairs to find your family all gathered around the kitchen area. Good morning. You greeted them all, receiving a chorus of good mornings back in return. I like that Liz is slightly taller than both moms. You nodded in acknowledgement as you headed into the kitchen to find some breakfast. A knock at the front door caught your attention and curiosity pulled you to follow several steps behind Mom as she went to answer it. Cove was waiting there with both of his parents. Morning.
Hello.
Hi there. Surprised at the sight, Mom paused a moment, then she pulled Kyra into a big hug. Meanwhile, you approached the doorway and flashed a small smile at Cove. Kyra, it's been too long. I know, time's been flying. Kyra's gaze slid over to you. She waved.
Hey, ya.
Hi there, Jules. Hey, welcome back. We're gonna hug her. Immediately, you stepped forward with your arms outstretched. Kyra grinned and hugged you tightly. A small squeak escaped your lips and then a chuckle. When you stepped back, there was no missing the merriment sparkling in her eyes. Feels good to be missed, but I'm glad to be back and seeing everyone. Trying to get a little more comfortable here. Enough of standing around up there. Come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in and guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. We still have some great spices and stuff from the farmer's market.
Of course.
Yes, we'd be thrilled to host you. There were eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kyra, but Cove looked around, the room filled with familiar faces, before speaking up. Maybe instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated that idea happily. Excited, Kyra clapped her hands together.
Yeah.
Oh, we could really make a day out of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. That sounds lovely, Cove. Everyone else put in their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. Sandwiches had to be made, water, sunscreen, towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. Bring that. Cove got me a lemonade. I forget what it was when I played on stream, but when I played off stream, it was grape. Today felt sufficiently special to bust it out. An hour later, both your family and Cove's were walking down the old path to the beach. The morning was already turning into a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there. The sight always filled you with wonder. Hey, Jules?
So?
I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda, see if they can come too. Everyone else is pretty much already here, so would your family mind? That'd be cool. I'll ask them. You were already so excited at the prospect of seeing your friends today that you immediately darted away in the direction your moms went. Behind you, you could hear the familiar sound of Cove laughing. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. Mom looked to Mom to see what she thought, and she nodded in agreement. Mom then shot a glance over at Mr. Holden and Kyra, knowing that they had likely heard everything.
You alright with that?
Cliff, Kyra, what do you two think? The more the merrier.
Okay.
Of course, they're welcome with me. Thanks. Delighted, you nodded and turned on your heels. Cove was still several feet away talking to Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beamy smile, you gave him a thumbs up, and the two of them must have also approved, as Cove quickly got his phone out and started making the calls. At that, you turned your attention to helping with the picnic setup. Unexpectedly, your phone started ringing. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID. Feeling your heart jump with excitement, you answered the video call request. It was Derek. I was pretty sure he'd show up, so that's part of the reason why I went ahead and played this. Hey, it's been a while. Holy, oh wow. Hey, handsome. Seriously, but what's up? The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you first met, but I still have the exact same amount of enthusiasm as a kid. Have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Oh, we're gonna pick this one. I would have enjoyed them more if you'd been there. He sighed deeply into the phone. He frowned, trying to imagine how the summer would have gone if things were different with him. Sorry, but if it helps, I was thinking the exact same thing about you. Distance sucks, huh? Yeah. What about you? How's your summer been? You were beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? What else is new? Well, I bet you're even more toned now. Faintly, you heard a slight hitch in his breathing. He smirked. You're right about that one. I hope you can see it in person sometime. He spoke so softly it was like he was whispering it to you. There was no one stopping the grin that grew on your face. You could only hope no one asked what was so interesting. I hope so too. Oh hey, I finally got the chance to say this. I met that boy again, the dancer from the Cypress Summer soiree. Huh? Wait, hold on. I need a second for my brain to catch up. That was fair. The human mind only had so much processing power, and that revelation was an overload. You waited patiently in semi-silence. Some muffled mumbles came over the speaker, as well as a scratchy interference that you suspected was Derek actually scratching his ear near the phone. Alright, so I'm breaking this down. There was that time you took me to the country club when we were barely teenagers? Yes. And I asked you to show me around and we went on a walk? Yeah. Then we ended up at a totally different party for a whole other group of people that we weren't supposed to be at. The confirmation process continued. Right. In that party we talked to a kid around our age who asked what was going on, and he told us what I said before about it being a private occasion for people who were not us. It was for a dance circuit. You got it. That's who you met? You got it. His name is Baxter. He rented the house right next to Cove's. No way! How did you remember him? He remembered me, and you too. He did? You verified reality for Derek for a final time. He did. He said your bow tie was cute. Whoa, I didn't remember I wore a bow tie. He's superhuman. But hey, I can live with that being my legacy. Baxter the dancer, huh? Your summer was even more exciting than I would have guessed, and I had banked on it being decently wild. And yours was exactly as eventful as I thought it'd be. Yeah, it always is. The distant tone of his voice made him feel even further away from you than he was. That wasn't what you had wanted, and you attempted to bring the topic back to something cheerier. What's going on with your family? Are Jorge and Nico being good? Their little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. You both laughed at that. It was easy to imagine the grin on his face. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family buzzing around. Towels were laid out and chairs and umbrellas were being set up. Actually, I'm out with my moms right now. Liz and Lee are here visiting too. Oh, that's fun, but if that's the deal, I'll let you get back to it. Are you sure? I don't mind. Uh-huh, I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. Okay, bye. Bye, Jules. Have a heck of a day. And, in case you were wondering, the reason I picked a green phone case for this is because Derek's eyes are green. Hanging up, the conversation left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make this day even better. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food out. In moments, you noticed Cove at your side. So what did they say? They're gonna come. Cool. Thanks for calling them.
No problem.
I'm glad I thought of it. They'll meet us here later today. It shouldn't be too long. I can't wait. While on the topic of inviting people to join, you realized there was someone else you could call as well. You'd gotten Baxter's number earlier that summer. You know what? Let's save that because there's going to be a Baxter DLC where you can romance Baxter. So we'll save that for that. Once the setup was done, everyone got comfortable and dug into the food. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attributed it to the gorgeous ocean view, and soothing sea breeze. The conversation shifted to what you all would do next.
In that case,
We could do a few rounds of volleyball. There's plenty of us now.
is that all right?
Could I play? Of course! Miranda brightened, delighted with this plan. Ma looked around to see if there were any other takers. I don't feel like playing. I'd have to change, and it'd be fun to watch. I could be the ref. My eyes won't miss a thing. Volleyball's a good idea, but there should probably be something happening for those who aren't a fan. Ooh, I have some crafting supplies we could use to make jewelry. We could even use stuff we find around the beach to accentuate them.
Really?
I want to make a necklace.
That'd be great.
I'd be interested in trying my hand at that too. I could do that. Nice. I'll play volleyball. You looked at Ma, ready to jump into a competitive mode. She looked thrilled to have you on board. Kyra got up from the towel she was sitting on. She brushed some sand off her legs and then stretched her arms over her head.
Can do.
I'm up for a few rounds. Now that plans were settled, the group temporarily split into two. Alright, sports stars, you're gonna have to pick partners and then it's game on. Mr. Holden left the rest of you to deliberate and turned his attention to drawing a makeshift court in the sand.
Well,
She walked over to you and hooked her arm around yours. You laughed. I want to be on Jules' team. Alright, it'll be Ma and me. That left Miranda to partner up with Kyra. She nodded firmly. Let's have fun. When Mr. Holden finished drawing the court, he went and fetched the volleyball from the various other supplies you all brought there. Sounds like we have our teams all set, right?
yes.
Good, good. Now get to your sides. The four of you situated yourselves on one side or the other of the court with your partner. Mr. Holden tossed the ball to Ma.
Do you mind?
Since this was all Noelani's idea, I think it's fair she gets to serve first. Thank you, Cliff.
Yeah.
Woo, Ma! Show 'em who's boss. Go, Jules! Make them eat sand! You kicked a small heap of sand out of your way on the simple court, making her laugh. Turned back towards Ma. Don't hold back. I wouldn't think of it. With that, Ma got into position and delivered a practice first serve. The game began. In the battle of the volleyball, both teams scored points. There wasn't a set amount to reach to the end thing, so it went back and forth for as long as everyone wanted to play. And the game went on for quite a while as everyone got into it, especially with the cheers and added commentary. Liz and Mr. Holden made the whole game better with their humor and wit. From a distance, the jewelry-making group would also cheer when they heard shouts coming out of the court. On top of that, they would hold up each newly made piece in the air and the players would take a breather to applaud the creation. It wasn't until all of you were exhausted from running, spiking, and diving that a truce was called. You enjoyed every moment of it. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Cove was thrilled when he pulled out the drink you had been saving. It meant a lot to him that you wanted to savor it. That was worth the teasing smiles her family gave. Occasionally someone would head back to the houses to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun a while, or to retrieve something that they needed, but they always came back. The beach was ever empty, and there's always a new conversation to take part in or another game to join. At one point, Mr. Holden even broke out his pack of cards. He roped the whole group into a few rounds of good old go fish. There's only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end, and that was for the day itself to end. Before anyone realized it, the sun began to set over the sea. As that happened, you were taking a break, sitting on a towel with your legs stretched out past it and your feet buried in the warm sand. Shortly, you looked up to see your moms approaching. They stopped in front of you, and you smiled. Hey there, kiddo.
How
How are you doing? I'm doing really good. How about you? We're wonderful. They both sat down, squishing you between them. Ma leaned her head against yours, and Mom started rubbing your back soothingly. Nothing more was said at first, but Ma sighed contentedly. Mom looked at you wistfully. We're both really proud of you, Jules.
True.
You grew up to be more than we ever could have hoped. It's only thanks to you two. Ma wrapped an arm around your middle and squeezed you tightly in a side hug. Mom continued lightly scratching her back. Oh, my dad does that sometimes. He'll just scratch my back, just very lightly. I feel so good.
Thank you.
That means a lot, but I still think you're selling yourself short. You've always been a lovely person, and I'm so thrilled to know you. Your voice faltered, and you honestly couldn't imagine your life any other way. Ma lightly brushed some of your hair back and left a small kiss there. I'm so happy I got to have both of you as my moms. After that, all three of you were sitting there getting all sentimental. I don't know how I got so lucky with you and Liz. Ma reached out in front of you for Mom's hand. She gave it to her, and Ma squeezed it.
Of course.
Jules has a boy. You must have done something right. You stayed there quietly and contently, watching the sun set with your parents for a while, until Mr. Holden called out to you. He was still walking in your direction. We were talking and think we're going to take a walk down the shore. Any of you want to come? Automatically, you looked to your moms for what they were thinking. Mom glanced from you to Ma and smiled. That sounds good to me.
That's
Yes,
fantastic.
that'd be very nice. I like to need some stretching. Let's go. Okay, I need to take a break. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sometimes you just can't wait. Thrilled, Mr. Holden threw out a thumbs up and began heading back the way he came in a light jog. Hey, don't leave us in the dust! Flip kept going forward but flipped around, walking backwards across the sand so he could face you again.
No worries.
Don't worry, we wouldn't leave without you. Alright, we'll catch up. Ready to go? Uh-huh. Both of your moms held a hand out to you. Chuckling gave them each one, and you all strolled back to the rest of the group. When Liz was in reach, Ma used her free hand to pull her into it too. Liz shook her head, but her mouth quirked into a smirk, and she didn't resist. Together as a family, you followed behind the others, hand in hand. Your feet squished into the wet sand as the waves rolled over them, and you didn't have a single care in the world as more and more stars began to dot the sky. Once the sun had long been out of sight, it was finally time to pack up. The closing of the day and the ever-approaching end of summer seemed to intertwine, caused a quiet, reflective mood to blanket over the group. On the beach, Terry and Miranda took turns compressing Cove in a hug before moving on to do the same to you. He chuckled, still overjoyed that you got to see them today. Sorry we had to go already. My parents are here. That's okay. But still, I wish we could help clear this all up. Don't worry about it. Just thanks for coming out today. It was cool having everyone here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm super glad we came. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Nodding, you turned your attention to Terry. She wore a large grin on her face and held out a hand for a low five. You obliged.
See you later.
Take care of yourself, buddies. After that, they walked away, waving to you and Cove as they went down the shore. Cove waved quietly back with a small smile on its face. It was a big wave. You hoped Miranda was right and there would be another day like this soon. Taking you by surprise, Terry jumped and twisted around. She kept up with Miranda by walking backwards. She kept the move your farewell light by shooting finger guns at you and Cove. Miranda bumped her with a hip. It left everyone with a laugh just before they disappeared down the bend. Jules?
Come on.
Hey, Cove, could you come here? Both of your parents were motioning for you. The two of you went to them. Tons of things ended up at the beach over the course of the day, so there was still so much to pack up, and the parents needed help. With a nod, you got to it, stuffing various things into bags and bundling them up in towels. Once things were ready to go, everyone filled their arms with as much as they could carry. Absolutely no one wanted this to be a back-and-forth kind of task. The walk back home ended up being mostly quiet. Each person seemed to be feeling the effects of the day. A cool breeze carried you across the sand and onto the road. There was a sigh of relief from what felt like the group as a whole when they arrived back to the neighborhood. Well, hello, everyone. Glanced to the side and spotted a very recognizable face walking down the road. Oh, hi, Baxter.
How are you?
Do you need help with that? It's alright. This is our mess to clean up.
Well,
If you're sure, then I'm simply heading home after getting some fresh air. The season is almost over, after all. Yeah, Baxter was only a tourist. He wouldn't be in town much longer. This might even be the last time you happen to cross paths with him. You knew that, and so did he. Oh, if you buy the wedding DLC, you do see Baxter again. If you have a minute, I'd just like to say it was a pleasure getting to know you both this summer. His head tilted towards you, and he smiled warmly. Baxter offered you his hand. It was tough with what you were carrying, but you were able to extend one of your hands a bit. Baxter chuckled and shook it. Good luck your next semester at school. Why, thank you, and good luck with your plans this fall. Thanks. Baxter turned to shake Cove's hand this time. He was a little incredulous for a moment, but then Cove eventually shifted what he was carrying and took Baxter's hand. It wasn't long, but it was a solid handshake. Baxter was clearly pleased. I wish we had more time together, but it was still a nice ride while it lasted. Would happily do it all over again. Bye, Baxter. Yeah, bye. Baxter nodded and walked a few steps towards his condo. He then stopped and waved.
goodbye.
Baxter sauntered away completely and disappeared inside the condo to return to his own things, his time with you and your family and friends ending. He paused for a moment, staring at where he went. But afterwards you looked back over at the rest of the group. Lee and Liz were just going inside your house. You couldn't spot Kyra or Mr. Holden anywhere, but the door to their house was wide open. Mom approached you with an amused look on her face. Seems like you're holding up some Holden things. Surprised, you glanced down to take a quick inventory of what you were holding. Mom was right. Some of it belonged to the neighbors. Would you mind dropping it off now? Can do. It's not a problem. Thank you very much. Cove took a few steps towards his house and stopped, waiting for you. Good night, Cove.
Good
I'll see you
night.
inside, Jules. Night. You caught up to Cove and together you went over to his house. Walking in the front door, you saw Kyra and Mr. Holden busily unpacking already. Things were scattered on counters and they were moving around each other, putting the items away. They both lifted their heads when Cove closed the front door. Hey! Nice seeing you again already, Jules. Her teasing tone brought a light smile to your face. You hunted the stuff in your arms a little closer. I ended up with things of yours from the beach.
Oh,
Thanks for getting that to us. You can put it here on that coffee table. Mr. Holden pointed at the surface he was referring to and immediately left what didn't belong to your family there. Cove put his own things down on the floor, just at his feet, wading through everything strewn around to reach his parents. Putting your family stuff on the ground for a moment, you dusted your hands off and straightened up. You needed a second of rest and a minute to resituate it all. You went over to where the others were too. Kyra opened her arms wide, wanting to hug you. Happily, you went to her. She held on tightly. Over the years, you were able to form a good rapport with her, and you were grateful for that. You could feel in her hug how much Kyra had grown to care about you. It brought an affectionate smile to your face. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was a blast. It's no problem. I had fun too. Kyra eventually released you, but patted the tops of your shoulders as a final gesture.
Thank you.
Every time I've gotten to come by, it's been an absolute joy. Things really couldn't have worked out better. Mr. Holden took a step closer to you. Kyra moved aside to let him say goodbye too. He grinned. Thanks for always being such a friendly neighbor, and not just right now, but for as long as I've known you. I didn't always make it easy, but you and your family are good people. I really, truly appreciate it.
thanks very much.
Thanks again, Jules. So much. At that, Mr. Holden reached over and gave you a soft pat on the top of your head. Taken by surprise, you lashed your arms around Mr. Holden. He let out a small squeak and went rigid. After a moment, he relaxed and began to lightly pat your back before shifting into a full hug. You held on firmly. Thank you for being a good neighbor. As you let go, he sniffed, but when he met your gaze once more, his mouth pulled into a wide, happy grin. Mr. Holden was staring at you, but his gaze seemed far away. So he was looking back at who you used to be, the 8-year-old he had asked to be his son's new friend.
See you.
Bye, Jules. You smiled softly. Then Cove took a step forward. He gestured to his pile of things he had carried into the house. Don't worry about all that. I'll put stuff away in a few minutes. Right, I need to go do the same with my family. I figured. Cove walked you to the door and held it open. Taking one last check around to make sure you had all your things to bring home, you went into the road. He leaned his body against the doorframe, not following you out. So this is it, huh? Actually, that's not what I mean. His expression twisted and he shook his head a bit, like he was trying to banish the pensive thoughts.
Bye.
I'll just say bye. Bye. I'll see you soon. Your mouth pulled into a soft smile, and you weren't sure who you were trying to reassure more. Cove reached forward and patted your arm reassuringly, and then he kept his hand there, lightly holding onto your arm. He nodded. One of his hands grabbed onto the door handle and firmly held it. He was stopping himself from coming along with you. As you walked over to your own front door, you stopped. Turning around, you spotted Cove right where you left him. You laughed quietly to yourself. For a small pause, you both stared at each other from across the street. Cove waved back with his whole arm. Night! Things couldn't be dragged out any longer. After one more shared smile, you opened the door and went inside, shutting it behind you. A few steps in, you saw your family gathered in the living room. They were still busy unpacking and cleaning. You added the things you brought to the pile on the kitchen counter. Mom stood up, rubbing her eyes a bit. She yawned loudly. I'm bushed. How about we finish the rest of the chores tomorrow? Yes, honestly, it's too late for this.
Thanks.
Please and thank you. Ma put her hands on her hips and turned to assess the room. Ma was not one who liked to leave a mess about, but she sighed.
All right.
I suppose we can make an exception to the usual rule. It has been a really long day. Yeah. Honestly, if I lived in walking distance to a beach, I would probably spend as much time there as I could. I love the smell of the ocean, the sound of the ocean waves. Liz grinned contentedly. We wasted no time in skipping over to you and hooked you into a side hug. Good night. I hope you have the loveliest of dreams. You pulled her close and into a bear hug. Lee giggled until you released her. I hope you sleep well too. Oh, I totally will. The moment my head hits the pillow, I'll be out. Here's to us, Jules. Tonight, tomorrow, and forever. Yeah, family forever. Lee leaned in close to whisper in your ear. He didn't fail to catch the teasing look on her face.
Aww.
Exactly. There's no escape. That got a laugh out of you. You lightly pushed her shoulder. Lee stretched her arms high over her head. She yawned loudly and looked at you with tired eyes. I think that's my cue to head to bed. Bye. I think so too. Have fun sharing the room with Liz. She laughed at that, and Liz shuffled off towards the guest bedroom. Before you had a chance to do anything else, you could feel the top of your head being tapped. You spun around to see Liz smirking. Nighty-night, I'm heading to bed too. It's been a long day and I have a lot to prepare for tomorrow. Exhaling, you automatically started fixing the back of your hair. When Liz didn't immediately walk away, you smiled softly at her. Everything okay? Her gaze moved away and you knew she had more to say. You waited patiently for Liz to compose her thoughts. It's been a good summer. It was nice to come back home. You nodded and Liz gave you a teasing nudge as she went by. Amused, you turned and watched her go. Love you, little kiddo. I love you too. Liz stopped walking and stared at you for a moment. She smiled softly at you. Get some sleep soon. Morning will be here faster than you know it. I will. When Liz was out of sight, Mom started up the next conversation over her shoulder. Aren't you heading up to bed too? I want to relax first. Desperately, you needed some time to decompress and clear your mind. You worried if you went to bed now, you would end up staring at the ceiling all night. Okay. Mom came over to you, smiling understandingly. She pulled you into a big hug.
Love you.
Alright, you do what you need to. I love you. When you were done hugging Mom pulled you into another hug. Their actions basically handing you off to one another had you laughing jovially.
I love you.
So much. I love you too. Aww. They both couldn't resist taking turns hugging you again. Your smile widened. It felt good to be so loved. Yes, it does. Good night, kiddo. Sleep tight. Good night, sweetie. Night. After that, your mom's headed off towards the bedroom down the hall. You were about to turn the other direction when you heard Mom's voice. And don't let the bedbugs bite. Heard Mom chuckling as you watched him go with a smile. Time had passed, but you weren't entirely sure how much. Sighing, you sat up on the couch. It's a good rest, and all of your child muscles felt quite relaxed. You got up, planning on going to bed, when something out the window caught your eye. Your feet brought you right in front of the large window spanning the length of the back wall. You stared out into the hills behind your house. As if on cue, your phone came on, alerting you to a new notification. It was Cove. Want to hang out on the hill tonight? Something inside told you that this was the right kind of night to take a trip out there. You sent him back a very quick message. Yeah. Smiley face. You went over to the front door and stepping over the threshold, you gave the living room one last glance over your shoulder. Then you shut the door behind you. Silently, you made your way to the poppy hill. With light steps in the dark, you walked across the hills behind your house. Up ahead at the very top, silhouetted beneath the night sky, was a familiar figure already there. Smiling, you wondered just how he always got there first. You even had the advantage of living closer. Knowing Kobe, he's probably already there when he called. Then again, and maybe it was only in your mind, but somehow Cove was intrinsically linked with this place. After all these years, it would be weird to scan the horizon and not find him there, as surreal as the shore without the sea. The distance between you was growing shorter by the second. Hearing the grass and earth crunch under your feet, Cove turned. A grin spread over his face as he saw you. You took your place standing behind him on the crest of the poppy hill, looking out over the ocean. Same as you'd done on countless times since he'd first arrived when you found him on this very same spot. Jules. He had officially broken the silence, the spell that held you both in place. You looked at him expectantly. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. He cocked his head, giving a sidelong glance. What did you think about when we met? I was just a kid you'd never seen before, bawling his eyes out on the hill next to your house. He chuckled, his eyes drifting towards the sea beyond, before flicking back to you. The way his gaze pulled back to you made it clear he was genuinely invested in the topic. Luckily for him, you remembered what initially struck you in that moment. It was as if it had only happened yesterday. Well, I remember noticing the neon pink cast you had to wear that summer. Cove burst into genuine laughter at your reply. I guess that's fair. It did kind of stand out. Smiling, you continued to reminisce about that first meeting. I also remember trying to cheer you up. I remember that too. He ran a hand through his hair, and you knew his line of questioning wasn't at an end, even before he spoke again.
I mean...
Do you remember what you thought about me? You know, as a person. Was I annoying or mean or... I just read about you because you were so upset. His eyes widened dolefully and he hung his head like a guilty puppy.
I'm sorry.
For upsetting you. Cove's hand drifted to the scar on his arms, his fingers unconsciously gliding over the mark. It's right there. It was much less noticeable than it had been when the neon pink cast had first come off, shrunken gradually over the years as his body healed and dwarfed in comparison to his growing body. Still, his fingers came back to it without thinking. He gave a half smile, not meeting your eyes. I feel bad now. The thoughts that I have were, well, considering what you were thinking, I came across as a lot worse of a kid. You didn't like me?
No.
No, it definitely wasn't that. Cove lifted his head up, finally committing to meet your eyes fully once more. I remember you that day. I remember it really well. I don't think I'd ever be able to forget. I could picture the way you looked back when I first saw you standing right here. I still know the expression on your face when you chose to sit with me in the grass. He chuckled self-derisively, interrupting his own monologue. You scared me at first. I figured I'd be all alone out there until I had to face my dad again, and then suddenly another kid appeared out of nowhere. It was startling, but I got over that fast. You were a strange person in a strange place, but in that moment you were exactly what I needed. Somebody I could talk to freely about what was happening and how it made me feel. And you listened to me. You stayed with me. He sighed, then bit his lip as he gave a small smile. I was a little bit spoiled growing up. It wasn't bad. You were dealing with a lot. Cope tilted his head to the side, smiling softly at your defense of his smaller self. He looked off again, seeking clarity for his thoughts in the expanse of the night sky. What I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. I didn't even imagine it wasn't like that.
I mean...
Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird, according to my little kid brain. It made far more sense that everything in my life had a specific connection to me, somehow, right? He sought affirmation anew, wavy brows raised as he tried to explain his childlike logic. I mean, what child hasn't thought that? So at the time you felt almost unreal. Like you weren't just anyone, some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cove Holden. No, to me you were there so that you could find me when I was lost. Though it turns out you were there for that. You were there for that. You were trying to find me because something had sent you specifically to do that. I just didn't expect it to be my dad. I guess he knew more about what I needed than I thought. He chuckled, shaking his head as he shook off the thought. I kind of expected it all to vanish like a dream when that night was over. Would wake up and everything would be the same again. I'd be back in my bed at home, my real home, with both my parents. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. I didn't know what school would be like when I went back, or the table where I'd eat breakfast the next morning, or anything. And if I couldn't imagine it, how could I think it was something actually happening? I couldn't grasp my new reality. It was too big for me to hold all at once. So I never thought I'd see you again. Then Cove beamed at you, his eyes shining bright. And I never ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown-up, the two of us would still be together. I'm glad this is how things went.
Me too.
But the smile faded from his face as his eyebrows drew together. That was the worst day of my life at the time, the day my family broke apart. It was too heavy for me to even think about. I felt that way for I don't know how long. He held a hand over his heart, connecting with the pain he'd felt as a child, and looked at you earnestly. I mean, that's fair. He was like 8 years old, and his parents were divorcing, separating. His world was in shambles. Of course that's the worst thing that happened.
It's okay.
But now, everything is better, with me and my dad and my mom and between the two of us. So when I remember that time, it's not the point that my life was over. It's just the day I met you. It's so great everything worked out. I think so too. Cove sighed contentedly. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies which crowned this hill. Hey, Jules? I'm so grateful you were there, even when I wanted to run away. You didn't even know what to say back to that. His heartfelt appreciation left you speechless. He tilted his head up, thoughts lost in the sparse clouds above. I wonder how late it is. I guess it doesn't really matter. My dad is fine with me being out whenever. You can still text your dad about what you're doing. I'm gonna message my mom's. I appreciate it.
I guess.
Probably. You were pleased to see Cove slip his phone out of his pocket and type away at it. You also brought your phone out long enough to shoot off a text. They wouldn't see it anytime soon, but they'd be in the loop once they were up. Are you going to lay in the grass now? Wow, how'd you know? Lucky guess, Cove. With a chuckle, Cove plopped down on the ground and laid on his back, his usual way of spending time there. You took your own spot next to him in the grass, brushing the blades of grass aside with a bit with your hand. The both of you fully settled in to relax on the hill. It felt like just the beginning of one of your nightly outings, but then you realized the sun was peeking out over the horizon. Cove spoke up with a disbelieving tone.
Huh.
It really was late. Your neighbor wasn't a stranger to being awake at dawn, however, not like this. He was normally an early sleeper, early riser. This unexpected sunrise particularly awed him. The two of you watched on silently as the sun began to light the world. Cove then propped himself up on the backs of his arms and looked at you with a soft expression on his face. Do you want to go back home? I could carry you if you're too tired. I'd rather stay a little longer. You couldn't resist a yawn, but you were serious. It couldn't be time to go already. Cove chuckled affectionately.
I get it.
Okay, but it's been a long day. We've done a lot of things, like really a lot. It has to end sometime. Does it really have to end? Yeah, I don't think there's anything either of us can do about that one. But we can stay if you want to. Cove smiled brightly at you, as warm as the new rays of sun that were tickling your skin. In that moment, you couldn't have appreciated him being there more. You're my favorite neighbor. You're mine, too. The two of you remained together on that familiar poppy hill where you first met until the world began to fade and blur. You were falling asleep. A few more gentle words drifted into your consciousness.
See you tomorrow.
Your eyelids stiffed, but you felt good. You were safe and relaxed. Everything that had come before this had reassured you of that. You were confident that when you opened them again, things would be okay. You opened your eyes. Instead of the walls of your room, you were surrounded by open sky. It was not soft pillows and sheets underneath you, but the bed of earth and grass that you'd taken last night. The day welcomed you with a shining sun, a refreshing breeze, and the chirping song of birds. You cupped your face with your hands as you sat up, feeling the imprint of the blades of grass leaving lines into your cheeks. Jules. Hearing your name, you lowered your hands and looked around. There he was, your most influential neighbor, Cole Holden. He had made himself very comfortable laying on his stomach with jewelry and shoes taken off and a flower in his hand. Aww. Good morning. Good morning to you, too. Cove laughed, tickled with the overall situation, simply being able to spend time like this. I told you I'd see you tomorrow. Cove was happy to allow a comfortable silence to wash over you both. Cove turned his head up to the sky, his expression content. Looks like it's going to be a nice day. We'll have to come up with something to do to make the most of it. Trailed off, blinking slowly in the sunlight. Someday, when we're even older than we are now, I wonder what we'll end up remembering this moment for. What will we feel when we look back at it? Will it be the same as what we're feeling right now?
It's nice.
I can't see what the future's going to look like again, but I think that's alright. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Cove turned back to you, nodding in full agreement. He eyed the hill sprawling out before you and down below, where the wild hill and nature gave way to civilization. Your home and Cove lay down at the bottom, neatly filed among the other houses in the neighborhood. Cove said nothing but fixed you with a deliberate and meaningful look. As much as I like it here, it's okay if we leave now. We can always come back to see the poppies and the fireflies again, right? Cove met your eyes, waiting for what you were going to say in response. It really is going to be another nice day. He didn't know where that came from, but your comment quirked a wry smile from Cove. His voice was lilted with mirth. You're one of a kind, huh? Cove beamed at you. His expression was so unlike the one he'd worn when you first found him here, swaddled in sadness and uncertainty. Yet you couldn't help but glimpse that boy once more underneath his bright expression and matured features.
Come on.
He offered you a hand. You accepted it, your palm fitting around his. Cove lifted himself up, pulling you along too. Our parents probably aren't going to come running for us this time. We've got to make our own call, and I say that we can't hide away forever. Poppy Hill is just one part of things. There's more out there for us than this time and this place alone. Let's enjoy it. You couldn't say whether you were the one that broke into a run, if Cove had been the one to start it, or if your feet had simultaneously made that choice for you both. The end result was the same, with the two of you dashing down the hill like children, but with the nostalgic revelry that could only come as an adult. As the wind whipped past you, you knew that family and friends were waiting at the other end of your sprint. There were more memories to make after all. Life takes another step forward. Whew.
Gentle breeze, I feel at peace, I feel at ease. And I hear the birds all sing their songs. I wanna sing along and like the ocean.
Sorry, I'm just kind of flicking through these real quick.
Winter, spring, summer, fall, I've seen them change, I felt them all. No matter how the seasons change, I love the sun, the snow, the rain.
Okay. Awesome! Whew! So, I have a feeling if I play the Derek epilogue, that's going to be a while. So, it's a shorter game recording session, but I think this is the best place to stop. And so, next week we'll actually play the Derek DLC ending. And the Baxter DLC will be available. I'm not sure when, but they have the page on itch up and it says coming soon. So when that's available, I will live stream that as well. But for now, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. Take care. And I hope you all have a great time. Bye.